whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
It is my pleasure to welcome you at SALAM as our guests. Thank you for giving us a chance to offer our hospitality and with honoring us with your presence here. 10 years ago, our nation was subjected to one of the most atrocious and horrific events in our history. What we know today for sure is that the thousands of lives that were lost have completely changed our world. Every single one of us, everywhere. Although every single one of us in this country suffered, and we suffered profoundly. We either had a family or friends that were killed on 9/11. We knew someone who died on that day. We read the news. We were exposed to the horrific images on television. It affected our lives at a very individual and private level very, very deeply. What is often forgotten, however, is that Muslims, ever since that day, have suffered double the suffering of everyone else. Not only that many of us were in that building, in the two buildings when they came down, not only that many of us, we were among the first responders who were also killed on that day, it is also because it is only Muslims that were subjected to harassment, that were subjected to discrimination, backlash. Muslim women's hijabs were snatched at shopping malls. Muslims lost their jobs, and their businesses and places of worship were vandalized. What hit the United States on that horrific day was an evil dogma. But I think that we responded to evil dogma with blind dogma. We attacked two countries. We invaded two countries, and we started a war in which hundreds of thousands of lives, mostly Muslim lives, were lost. And all of those events eventually cost the world one of the most economic crises, the worst economic crises in modern history. Number two, in the course of fighting the so-called war on terror, the question that we often ask is, how many extremists were produced in the process? Have we gotten to the root of the problem in order to deal with it properly? Number three, the Arab Spring has proven to us beyond any doubt that the Muslims, the people of the Middle East, do not hate our freedom. They do not hate liberty. They do not despise democracy. It is the exact opposite. We realize today that all of those notions were just a sham. It was deception that some of our leaders used in order to justify war. In the Quran, there is a very potent message about this great man, this great leader. His name was Dhul Qarnayn, a man of two epochs, a man of 2 centuries. It is said that Dhul Qarnayn was set out on this journey to free, to liberate, to assist, to bring justice to people who asked for it. The story is mentioned in a chapter in the Quran called Surah Al-Kahf, the cave. Dhul Qarnayn was able to liberate people from tyranny, and he rendered aid to those who asked for it. He had 3 rules that he always abided by. Number 1, help people only when they ask for your help. And the Quran clearly states that. And I think that we have done a remarkable job recently helping Libya when they asked, and not helping Syria when they asked us not. Number 2, do not interfere in people's indigenous cultures. Don't try to change them and change their way of life. Just offer your help and let them respond in however way they want. Number 3, rather than doing the job on behalf of other people, help them help themselves. These are the rules that Dhul Qarnayn, one of our role models in the Quran, he had to abide by in his mission of changing the world to the better. Don't get me wrong though, the United States is a very big country and it has tremendous responsibilities. If we act, we will be criticized, and if we don't act, we will also be criticized. We are doomed if we do, and doomed if we don't, so please don't feel discouraged. We still have to do something about injustices that take place in the world. We still have to secure ourselves. It's just a matter of how. Number 6, and finally, how do we change? Where do we go from here? Which path to choose? How do we overcome the post-9/11 syndrome that has unfortunately brought so much unease, discomfort, lack of security, often depression to our lives? The answer lies right here in this room. The answer is in this gathering. In us, when we acknowledge our common humanity, when we understand that at the end of the day we are just people who are trying to raise children to the best of their ability, who are trying to make ends meet, who are not bent on committing evil things. Just folks who are trying to get by, to open our hearts, our minds, our places of worship, our homes to our brothers and sisters in the community. What we have achieved in Sacramento is a role model to be followed. We realized in our struggle with our own biases and the realities of the world that we need to not only accept but cherish the differences that define us. The greatest resource, the most important and relevant possession we could ever have at the end of the day is each other.